Hi all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy and the subjects can get saucy. So if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted kitchen chats and also studio chats with some of the most interesting voices in the culinary South. I'm Stephanie Burt, a food and beverage writer based in Charleston, South Carolina, who travels with her fork to write for a variety of publications, from magazines you might have on your coffee table to the website you love to visit for your favorite recipes. And I'm inviting you to come behind the scenes with me to get to know the people who make this Southern culinary landscape so special. I'm always hungry for the next bite, thirsty for that next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is presented this year by Townsend Automotive in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. For more than 40 years, the Townsend family of dealerships has been a locally owned company built on service and connection with its customers. And their experienced team can walk you through the whole process, side by side, from test drive to service oil changes and beyond. I've loved tooling about the southern backroads and superhighways this season in a Townsend Honda CR-V. And now I'm hooked on the great gas mileage, the comfortable maneuverability, and that backup camera for parallel parking success. Visit townsendhonda.com for current inventory, or if you're in West Alabama, stop in. Townsend Automotive salutes local entrepreneurs, from restaurateurs to podcasters, and they welcome you to be part of a community that does the same. The Southern Fork's culinary sponsor is Schirmer Pecans. It's baking season, and in the South, that often means baking with pecans. From pecan pies to cookies to sticky buns topped in syrup, pecans play an important role in many of the sweet classics of the Southern table. Schirmer is a classic too. Fifth-generation growers in South Georgia who turned me on to just how good a fresh pecan can be. They're harvesting them right now to be on your holiday table this season, and they have lots of different size and package options. Visit SchirmerPecans.com to place your order or to order a sweet treat for gifts, such as dark chocolate-covered pecans, available by the case, and they arrive already perfectly wrapped in green foil packaging. That's SchirmerPecans.com, SCHERMER Pecans.com. Taste how good a fresh pecan can be this season. In coastal Georgia, Matthew Raiford grew up raking the dirt and trading squash for sweet potatoes, raising hogs and chickens, and only going to the grocery store for staples. After a military career, then graduation from the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, Matthew returned to Brunswick, Georgia in 2011 to continue the traditions of his Gullah Geechee heritage and to create an authentic farm-to-fork experience for locals. He is the former executive chef of Little St. Simon's Resort and was the chef-owner of the Farmer and the Larder in Brunswick. Certified as an ecological horticulturist, he runs Gilliard Farms with his sister Althea, a family farm first established in 1874. They're the sixth generation to cultivate the land there, and no one has ever used chemicals to grow any crops on it. His first cookbook is titled Bress and Nyam, Gullah Geechee Recipes from a Sixth-Generation Farmer. Welcome to the Southern Fork, Matthew.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, you don't seem like a Matt. You go by Matthew. Do people say?
Rarely. You have to have known me a very long time to even get to the Matt portion. Yeah, I mean, like, no one calls me that. Because I was in the military, my name was, I still have friends that still call me like, hey, Raiford, how are you doing? And we just go right into that conversation like we're in the military again. So, yeah, I haven't been called Matthew until just maybe the last decade. It's always been Raiford or Ray.
Or Chef.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, you're on a book tour, a long book tour, because it's been dragging out because of 2020.
Yeah. But it's been amazing, and I think dragging out is kind of not the word I would use per se. Not that there's anything against you saying it, but it's been different because I haven't been beholden to a very specific schedule. People have called and been like, hey, can you come to Greenville, South Carolina and do something at Cook Station? Like, I didn't even know there was a Cook Station in Greenville, South Carolina, And so I think those are some things that have really been amazing. And I think, my mission with the book was to show that African-American Black folks' food is not a monolith. It's not just the thing that people try to say it is. And I think that that's been what's been amazing about this book tour, is because everywhere I've went, like when I was in Washington State and Whidbey Island with Chef Vincent Natridis at Orchard Kitchen, you have all these people that can trace their roots back to the East Coast. And so I think there's those kinds of conversations that are starting to come out. And I'm talking about food as a sense of place, and that soul food comes in a lot of different forms and fashions. And the more we learn about foodways and all that kind of stuff, we start to go, oh, wait, so pasta wasn't originated by, and tomatoes are what would be considered a new world, not an old world vegetable.
Originally considered poisonous.
Right. And or because it changed colors, green to red, which was envy to love.
You said that last week, and you said envy to love, and I was like, yes.
Yes. People thought it was poisonous. Yeah. So I think the more we're starting to connect within our foodways, I think people are starting to realize that what they've thought of each other's culture's cuisine is not that thing. And that the thing that we consider high cuisine right now is still part of the original high cuisine of the old world, in that peasant food has always risen to the occasion. Poor people's food, the commoner's food, and Bress and Nyam, which means bless and eat in Gullah Geechee, is trying to show that what people have thought of as a low form of food is really part of the original foodways for the Americas, or this northern part of the Americas. So I think the more that we start having more conversations about those kinds of things, I think the better we start to understand each other. Because it's really interesting when you meet somebody and like half of you are Black and half of you are white, and all of you are eating the exact same thing and having the same kind of, for lack of better words, food orgasm from the, with the, oh my God, oh goodness, this was so good.
And right? You're having a visceral reaction, but also it's coming from a sense of memory, place, connection.
Yes.
And even if that's the first time you've had that dish, it's connecting to another time.
Right. It invokes a feeling. Right.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about that kind of evocation or evocative kind of nature, because we were just talking about you being in the military for a decade. You went to CIA. I mean, people have heard the intro, they know. But that is a lot of organization of time, and we're talking about time, and cooking is time.
Yes, it is.
And growing things are time. But those are times that are constricted. Those are times that are decided by other people. The military, your time is not your own.
Right.
When you're in school, your time is not your own.
True.
Now, as a writer, as a chef, as a farmer, you're working with seasonal time, environmental time. Can you talk about what the rhythms of the farm teach you about cooking and writing?
Oh, wow. You went deep on that one. I think I'm able to see now a little bit better what probably my great-grandparents or my great-great-grandparents were thinking when they were farming, in that I can't rush Mother Nature. Like, it is what it is. It's 28 days for that radish to grow. It's 69 days to get that tomato.
And you're always learning for the next season,
for the next season, right? And or trying to figure out, and I'll say this, Dr. Lane Ingham talks about soil being a living organism.
Right.
And I think that the more I've been involved with farming, the more I've studied the soil food web and all of that, I'm starting to understand better what it means to think about the food. Like, you know, I'm on a silty, sandy loam, and our swing is almost 30 degrees. So we'll be 55 at night and all of a sudden 85 by like 10:30, 11 o'clock. So understanding those swings and understanding what that means to the sugars that are inside a plant and what happens to the maturity and, you know, what stunts the growth, or, you know, is it better? Like in the summer, I've learned to water all my plants in the evening. I do no watering during the day. All like 5:30, 6 o'clock, I'm watering so that the plant can uptake as much of that water as possible to work through the next day. And so I've learned a lot of that, which also I've learned a lot of patience. And I will actually say the writer that I've been working with, Amy Condon, has been an amazing mentor and teacher when it comes to understanding how to find my voice and have the conversation with her within my own voice, instead of, you know, no one wants to be a parrot or be considered to be a parrot. So I don't want to just constantly like keep saying the same, you know, the same thing that everybody else is saying. And so she really has taken her time to help me like understand what having your own voice actually is. And that also has taken some time and patience. And so,
that is going to come through your food,
right?
Too.
And that's going to come through your food,
because your food is a communication. So how you go is how you do everything,
Definitely.
right? So that patience is going to transfer over to all of that research, and you know, it's exciting to me for you to call yourself chef farmer. You know, to me, there's a lot of chefs that visit. There's a lot of chefs, but they start from a different place. And you also have a farm that is connected to family.
Yes.
So when you're there, do you feel the spirits of your ancestors? Do you think about them? Do they have connections to you? Do you have information from them that you can use for the land? Talk to me a little bit about all of that.
Yeah, so I actually have letters written between my grandmother, my great grandmother, that actually talk about what's being harvested, what's being planted.
That's so cool.
So that has become my almanac, so to speak. So I know, you know, count them back.
Almanac.
You know,
I needed
almanac.
that word. I'm a city girl.
Almanac, right? So it's kind of like knowing the sun, moon, and stars, the way the tides are working, how these things are all interconnected with like the weather and all of those things. And then it's a way to keep record, you know, of, you know, what happens every couple of years when there's a leap year and and so I think I have a lot of those things that I use. But I think what's super interesting, something that you can physically put your hand on and see, is if you were at the farm, there are 3 trees that have grown up over the last fencing that my great grandfather and my great uncle put into place. So it's caught in the fence. And the 3 trees are about 30 yards, well, maybe more like 20 yards. But that fence is in that tree. Like the tree has grown around the fence. Like the only way you can get that out, you have to split it in half, the trees in half, to get the...
Right. It's like it molds around.
Yeah, it molds around it, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you're able to see something like that, it invokes the thought process of this is a 30, 40, 50-year-old tree that has grown up around. Like it wasn't a tree when I was a kid. It was like a little, well, it was a tree, but it was like a sapling.
Right, right.
But then to see that and to know that that has been there for almost 100 years, that's like, whoa, like I can put my hand on it, you know? It's tangible. That's the word I was looking for, the 75-cent word. And it's just like walking into the schoolhouse. So the schoolhouse was built in 1907. And from 1907 to 1955, it was the only place for black folks to go to school within like a 20 plus mile radius, right? But right now we are taking that house, or that schoolhouse that has been kind of like a guest house since 1956, 57. And now it's getting ready to be my mom's house. So we're redoing it. So we've like taken, old plaster down and sheetrock. But what was interesting was to remove the rug off the floor and realize that the floor that I was standing on was put in there in 1906. Mm-hmm. That just invokes it within itself, right? All those little children's feet that just like ran around, being able to see the original potbelly chimney that came out that's still in place, right? Mm-hmm. It's still the work is still there. I think those things invoke it as much as just knowing it, walk and see it. And I think those kind of tangible things, when you can touch it, it just pushes you, I think, to like, it's almost one of those conversations, how like they say, well, when you know better, you're supposed to do better.
Right. Maya Angelou.
Yeah. This right here takes you to not only knowing better to do better, but wanting my children's children to have something to do better with. Gotcha. So it's about legacy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the big part is coming in for me now. I want the people that are listening today to realize that your personal legacy is like a spider web. It's connected to a lot of different other things. So you want your legacy to be something amazing, mm-hmm. like good. You want to look back on it and be like, I did good, mm-hmm. right? Not because someone gave you your flowers while you were living. I mean, like literally, like you want to know that you did good. And I think that people need to start honing in on that so that their legacy is about the good that they're doing or are trying to do, regardless of what their past was yesterday. Mm-hmm. We're talking about today, moving forward. And I think that a lot of people feel that because the past was and is what it was, that they can't really move forward. But it's one step at a time. It goes back to like, I got the seed, I planted it, now I have to nurture it, right?
28 days for that radish.
28 days for that radish. So don't think that whatever you're doing to do whatever it is to make the world a better place is supposed to happen overnight. Mm-hmm. It's not going to do it because your legacy is intertwined with someone else's, whether you know it or not. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and that could be just your family. It could be just your own personal children, but it's tied into them and you have to do the good. So yeah, I think that's, yeah.
So if you are thinking back, I mean, obviously I heard you talk about CA last week mm-hmm. is about pedigree. It's mm-hmm. not about knowing how to cook.
Right.
But the inspiration to continue to cook, mm-hmm. I get that because you grow a radish, you're going to want to do something with it.
Even if it's just make some really good raw milk butter.
Right.
And
yeah. But there's a whole, like you're saying, a whole larder.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about how cooking caught your imagination at the beginning?
Oh, wow. So I'm glad you asked that. So when I was a kid, whenever I had any readings to do, and you know how you like talk about whatever it was you read when you was a kid or whatever, I would take something like the apple, like, Spot knocked the apple off the tree, right? I would try to make it about the apple. I don't care about Spot, right? Let's make it about the apple, that beautiful, red, delicious apple. And I think that that's what kind of sparked my imagination, is that I didn't know it then, but I will tell you that the only reason people work is for food, clothing, and shelter. Not clothing, food, shelter. Not shelter, food, clothing. They work for food, clothing, and shelter. It's never been said differently that I know of. Mm-hmm. I've been looking for someone to correct me and go, no, it was originally said like this. I need that in my life right now. Because if that's why we work, whatever the job may be, then food should be on a high priority of what we're not only trying to do with the environment, but also what we're trying to do with the food, not the food, but the sea life, our air, our carbon sequestering, like there's so many things that are like involved in that if food is the reason that we work, it seems like the world would put a little more emphasis on making sure the food was good. Of the food. Yeah, especially this part, right? So I think that that's the other piece, is like having people starting to realize that food is an integral part of our day. Like,
It touches everything. That's why I have the Southern fork.
Right. There we go.
Because I can ask you about, diurnal time.
Right.
Although I didn't use that word until now. That might be a $1.50 word.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know.
$2.50.
I don't think
it's
I
a $2
pronounced
bill
it
word.
correct. I'm not sure.
That was a $2 bill word.
I don't even know if I pronounced that correctly. It might be edited out because I mispronounce things all the time.
It's okay.
But that's a really good point with that. And I've heard you speak a lot about, this regenerative agriculture, biodynamic, all of this stuff that sounds so new and fancy is actually practical and part of the old ways.
It's part of how the world fed itself prior to chemicals actually being used to replace
chemicals that were used in World War II and now are sprayed on strawberries. Right.
So I think it's also us understanding that. I think people are just now. My running joke is: do you remember what the produce section used to look like in the 70s or 80s, or even the 90s?
80s and 90s.
Right. I'm dating myself.
Well,
I don't want to date you, young.
No.
Okay.
I'm not young. I'm over here going, I got to get home before dark.
Right. Oh, goodness.
Just
get home when them street lights come on.
Yeah, if they're on. I don't know if I can. I got good night vision anymore.
Right.
No, I'm actually a little barely cooler than that. But, okay, so it was not big.
It wasn't that big. Now you walk in and it's like 10 times the size it was because now we can get all the things from all the places. However, C-19 has taught us that toilet paper is a real thing.
It is.
Paper towel is a real thing.
Like, you don't want to go back to the Sears catalog because there is no Sears catalog.
There is no Sears catalog, right? And think about this. People hoarded eggs.
Flour.
They didn't hoard sugar. I went to so many stores and was like, they took the flour, they didn't take the sugar. Like, what are they making? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, definitely not any sweets. Lots of sourdough starters, though. Mm-hmm. But I think that C-19 has taught us that not only have we been running around like thinking we need all this stuff, that now we're starting to realize that no, this is what we really need. And I'm not talking about people that took all the toilet paper and stuff like that. I mean, like, really
put gas in plastic bags.
Right. Who ever thought? Anyway,
we're not getting off on that.
We're not going to get off on that. But just the fact that right now, the procurement of all the foods that we've gotten before stuck out in the Panama Canal or wherever else it might be stuck right now. They're talking about this being the worst holiday season ever because all the toys that come from the rest of the world can't make it, or they're just sitting on the ships trying to get here or whatever. It's amazing that we have never known that this little bug would cause this many problems.
Right.
Like, here's what's really interesting. It's funny. All of the pandemic things that have come out, like movies and stuff, none of them have ever shown like where the stuff is there. It just can't get to you. It's always like it doesn't exist anymore. The things are still there. We just can't. It's just not moving,
it's a supply chain thing.
And I think that because we haven't looked at it like that, we're starting to realize, oh shit, we might not have avocado.
Right.
What would happen to avocado toast? You see what I'm saying? Like there are things
you might have to make sweet potato toast.
Sweet potato toast. Oh, that is good. Butternut squash toast.
Butternut squash
with
toast.
Like some roasted butternut squash that is
pecans.
Almost. Oh yeah, with a little bit of butter and then turned into a spread because there's no more peanut butter and jelly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With the creativity for me, let's go back to that. It started off with me being a kid, but now it's like, we don't have access to all the things we had before. Oh, how can I still make this thing?
But fences are amazing for creativity. They are. Okay. When you actually have you can't do it this way.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by fences.
No, I know what you meant. I just wanted to not bust out laughing because I was like, yeah, this is true. Because when something's blocked and you can't get to it,
can't do it. Right.
Do we have any more of those?
Right.
Sweet potatoes in your low country boil, folks.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
That actually would be pretty good, though.
I mean, these little red potatoes, though, they're so good.
I know, but I'm saying with the red potatoes.
Oh, yeah. That would be good.
Because we don't have enough red potatoes.
Yeah.
Somebody hoarded them.
Yeah, well, the gas lady with the bags.
Yeah, the gas lady with the bags.
She's got them. And she can drive them around in her Hummer.
in her
Just
Hummer,
show
right?
'em.
In her Hummer.
So there are a lot of people that are listening, and and they're overwhelmed by, okay, I've got a yard, I've got a lawn. I'm not a farmer, chef. I don't live in Brunswick, Georgia with acreage. You've given some advice already. So how would you suggest that they begin to incorporate the idea that you're saying today in their lives, in their homestead? Because, I mean, if you live on a cul-de-sac, you still have a homestead.
Yes. I think folks understanding that wherever they are, like let's say they're inner city, right? That there's a lot that can be grown inside of a 5-gallon bucket on your balcony. You can grow a tomato plant, cucumber, and squash all in like that one little thing, you know? So I think it's realizing that start where you are.
That goes back to that process.
Yes. Start where you are. If, start off with just plant some radishes, or if you like carrots, plant some carrots. Learning what's in season, like what is being planted during this specific season.
In your
area. So not trying to necessarily plant because you were on Pinterest or you saw this YouTube thing or, like people see those things like, oh, I should grow blah, 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 blah. Barbara, we should grow, and all of a sudden it's like, no, we shouldn't because it's not going to grow. Then they become disillusioned with the fact that like, I can't grow anything. I got a black thumb. It's not,
right.
No, I shouldn't have said black thumb, but you get what I'm saying,
yeah.
right? Like, I have I have the inability to grow.
Right.
When
it does become disillusionment.
Yeah, become disillusion, right?
Success.
Right. You need some easy successes.
Radishes.
Radishes. You know what I'm saying? And you might be thinking, well, I'm not really a big radish fan per se, but yeah, let me try something, right? Here's what's interesting. Learn how whatever thing that you do decide to grow, how to use all of it. Like don't throw the radish tops away. Saute them with some spinach, even some kale, put it in your smoothie. Make a put in your salad along with the radishes. Like, if you're using carrots, use the carrot top, the very leafy part within your salad. Use the stems to help make yourself some vegetable stock and then use the whole carrot. Don't whittle it down to the baby carrot and talk about what we're going to feed the kids. Like
that's not a baby carrot.
That's not a baby carrot. It's actually a horse carrot. That's whittled down into a little bit.
A horse carrot.
It goes to, have you?
Yeah.
Have you seen the baby? Anybody that's listening,
and dipped
look
in
up
bleach.
How does baby carrots get made? You need to look it up.
And they're dipped in bleach. So they don't.
Now we have to talk about that.
No, we're not talking about that.
Oh, my God.
But you're right, using the whole piece.
Yeah, using the whole piece. I think that's a big thing is that, like, onion skins don't have to be thrown out. You can make stock with the skins,
Or dye. Not that,
Yeah.
You might not be making dye, but you might be making stock.
But you can, so I think it's like learning all the different things that are out there. And that doesn't mean you have to have the big book of country wisdom to figure it out. Like, again, you could go back to Pinterest and find like, what can I do with onion skins? Mm-hmm. What can I do with carrot tops? And so that way, I think educating ourselves a little bit more on our food and what's available and what is also like within our own landscape. Like there are plenty of things like wild staghorn sumac that I've seen people like the trees growing up in someone's yard and they just cut it down, not realizing that you can use that wild staghorn sumac to like create an amazing spice blend called za'atar. So like there's like all these different things that can be done. If you like fresh herbs, I think herbs are a great way to go. Parsley, cilantro, culantro, marjoram, sage, like gross oregano, thyme, basil,
rosemary,
like rosemary. Oh yeah, grows like a weed. So I think there's some of those things, like find some of those little things and just start using them. So then that way you can, for lack of a better word, you're adding it to your repertoire of cooking. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that way you can move into that next. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's really the book there's a lot of wisdom and place making and sense of place.
Yeah.
Really for beyond recipes, it's
mm-hmm.
a culture piece.
Yes, very much so.
It's a really good book.
Thank you.
You've been on a lot of fancy, I don't know what we would call it, media right now.
Yeah, yes.
And I had to walk you through because, to get here because people were taking pictures and everybody was excited.
Well, I'd like to say this just, and then we can just jump right in. I just want everybody to know there's no such thing as an overnight success.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's what you were going to, oh yeah.
That's all good.
Like getting the book written was a 3-year project, right? I've been back on my family land for the last decade. Prior to that, I have 25, almost 30 years worth of cooking experience. So I think when you look at all of that and then go, oh, this is where he is, it then kind of puts it like, oh, there's work that has to be done prior. There's a body of work that has to be put in place. There's books that have to be read. There's, conversations that are good, bad, and indifferent that have to be had.
Failures.
Yeah, there's lots of failures.
Failures that have to happen.
That have to happen.
Right.
And there's relationships that come and have gone and that have reconnected and are redoing even better than what they were before. So I think that, like anyone that's listening, I just want you to know if you're watching or paying attention to anything that's going on with me, none of it's overnight. Like it's, and it's not just been just me. Like I mentioned before, Amy Condon, like without her being my writer, the book would not be where it is right now. Like she really, this was 3 years of us like constantly talking to each other about like, it's kind of cute how you wrote that recipe. However, pinches, dashes, drizzles, we don't work with that. People don't know what a pinch, dash, or drizzle is. We need to actually put a number to it, 1/8 of a teaspoon, a quarter of a cup, or, if you put it in your hand, what does it look like? Do we need to take a picture of it being the salt in your hand so that we know, I didn't want to write a cookbook that was all chef speak. I want to write a cookbook that people were like, oh, I can make this biscuits. That's not that hard.
You were transforming into a teacher.
Yes. Wow.
From a cook to a teacher.
Yes.
Because you're now thinking about the reader.
The reader.
And
right.
you just said, I want somebody to be able to cook this.
Yeah, I want them to be able to cook it.
This isn't an ego moment. This is a sharing moment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. The second cookbook is going to be about companion planting and how planting those things together and then cooking those exact same things cause the food to move into a different level of like taste and what it feels like when you put your physical hands in the soil and grow the tomato and the cucumber and the watermelon and the arugula and, peas and peanuts and, the Santa Rosa plum. Like when you actually are doing those things, it's a plum. Oh, wait, it's plums. Oh, my God. And like actually pull it and eat it. It's like, oh, my God, this is like amazing. And now, you get what it was like for like your parents or your grandparents to have like walked out to a fruit tree and like took it and bit into it. And then them saying to you now, yeah, them apples don't taste like they used to. And then you're like, you're right. It's not crisp and juicy. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of
well, you used to say,
yeah, true story. Yeah.
You go, it's always better in the old days.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah.
And then one day you're like, maybe you're right.
Right. Or wait, those old days weren't that far back.
No. And it's so much easier. I have a hashtag called No Waste Kitchen, and I really try to use that within my small, very suburban kitchen.
Definitely.
And in and out and going to restaurants and being like, y'all not going to eat that bread. I'm going to take it home and put it in the freezer. I'm like the sketchy woman. Like, can I have this one mayonnaise?
Why is she always showing up with Tupperware?
I know, exactly. I was like, but I don't have Tupperware. I have leftover yogurt containers.
Well, yes, even better. Oh, yeah, you got a fist bump on that one. She's like, what? Tupperware?
I don't buy single-use plastic.
Cottage cheese container.
Yes. Exactly. I'm like, what's in this? Boom.
Yeah, what's in this? Boom. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I grew up with Appalachian Tupperware. That's not going to change.
It. Appalachian Tupperware.
So what is making you hungry now?
What's making me hungry now is watching people realize that us having not been together for over a year, that the spirituality of us being together and breaking bread is fundamental living now. Like people are breaking bread now going, I'm sorry. Or, it was an amazing thing that we did like 5 years ago. Why haven't we done it again? Like people are starting to realize that us not being together and breaking bread has actually been a thing that we've craved. That's part of us as human beings, where we want to be together, to eat together. People are craving that so much right now. They're willing to do whatever it takes to get back to it.
Right.
That's exciting.
It is exciting.
It's exciting.
We're realizing community.
Community, yes.
Mm-hmm. What's one aspect of this job that's very multifaceted, that meshes like a puzzle piece with an aspect of your personality?
Mm-hmm. When you say being a chef and a farmer, both of them are very creative, and they're built on not just what you know, but all the things that you've seen being done. So, you walk in the kitchen, all of a sudden the fryer goes out. Like, do you have enough culinary acumen to know that we can take that oil and put it into a larger thing and still fry, and that, maybe we have to use a colander to dip it down in it to pull it back up or whatever, but that you have the ingenuity to do those things. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where
I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's keeping you up at night? Quick fire.
Ooh, institutionalized racism is keeping me up at night. Just watching where people have played it down and are still trying to play it down, and not honing in and understand that it affects our food system. Like, everything goes back to food, mm-hmm. And so people not having it, not having access to it because of who and what they are and where they live.
Not having access to the same resources to grow it.
The same resources to grow it. Fresh water, those kinds of things are what's keeping me up. And it's interesting that it's keeping me up, and it does not directly, a lot of times people why are you worried about that? You're on well water. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yes, but if we pollute the rivers, that messes with my damn aqueduct. So then I end up screwed still, Mm-hmm. So if that's when I said earlier about the legacy, how we're all interconnected, whether we want to not be or whatever, we're all connected.
All right. I brought it to Charlotte. It was in Atlanta last week.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When we were right there
Gather
as well
round.
At Gather Round. It's here this week at Bay Haven.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Southern Fork Magic Picnic Basket. And
okay.
I use this picnic basket only for Southern Fork guests. I do not believe in the death penalty. So instead of asking you about a death row meal, I ask, can I put some things in a picnic basket to bring you life? So in order for this to happen, it means that just for you, I can time travel. I can go back in time to conscript anybody to make anything that you just want one more taste of. I can source for you, and I can cook a little bit. I'd love to bring you some of your favorite things in that basket, and they don't all have to go together. So what may I pack it with?
I want some brie. I want some crusty bread. I want some vegetables. I don't care whether it's lemon as the acid or whether it's vinegar. Mm-hmm. Some sort of oil. It doesn't necessarily have to be extra virgin olive oil. It could be a blood orange oil or something like that. I'd like those things in a basket. And I'd also like for you to bring me some seeds.
What kind of seeds?
Oh, whatever kind you want.
Okay.
It's up to you, because I think that while we are partaking of what we've taken from the earth, that we should give back to Mother Nature what she's given us. So I think growing needs to be a part of that conversation while we sit on our blanket and laugh about this beautiful sun that we're underneath.
Excellent. On that note, if people would like to know more about Chef Matthew Raiford and his book and all of the things that he does based in Brunswick, Georgia, you can go to thesouthernfork.com. I'm going to have links there as well as images so you can see the face behind the voice. Also on books from the show, if you really want to get into the kitchen with Chef Matthew, there will be a link there so you can purchase the book directly from thesouthernfork.com. That helps him and me at the same time, which is a lovely thing.
Yes.
If you like what you hear, there are more than 250 other conversations in the archives. I'm guessing you've heard me say that little spiel once or twice, but please dig in there, because there is a wide, broad, deep well of culinary just excellence in the South, and I'm happy to bring it to you every week. And without you, there would be no Southern Fork. So thank you so much for spending time with me.
Thank you. I've always wanted to say this. Stephanie, let's stick a fork in it because we're done.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Talking with My Mouth Full. When Chef Matthew was talking about process and that there are rarely overnight successes, that really hit home for me too. And I just thought, since a lot of you are new to the podcast this season, I wanted to say, yeah, that's the way it is for me too. This work that I do, both in audio and in writing and in some video, is all about process. And obviously cooking is a process, but I have been a full-time freelance multimedia producer since 2015, and I've written more than 400 writing projects since then. I have also produced, as of today, 250 podcasts during that same era. And I got to that place because I had already been a freelance writer on and off since I was 18. I've been on staff at different publications. I have been freelance for, of course, a lot of publications, and I was a college instructor all during that time before I went freelance in 2015. But there was also a lot of waiting of tables and bartending and catering jobs and working in the prep kitchen at Callie's Biscuits. So all of that mixed together as part of my process to bring me right here today to 250 episodes of the Southern Fork. So thanks so much for listening and reading along. Even if this is just your first episode, I'm glad to have you here. And if you want to know more about me and my work, you can do two things. You can sign up for the newsletter at thesouthernfork.com. That is a great way to learn a little bit more each month about me and my work. I only send out one newsletter a month. And you can also, while you're on that website, the second thing you can do is click over and click the tab Meet the Host. And in that link, you will see some of the publications that I've written for in the past. And most of those logos will have click-through links so you can read the articles if you so desire, and then you'll learn a little bit more about me too. So thanks so much for listening today, and guess what? I'll be right here next week, so take care.
You've been listening to The Southern Fork. I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations. But in the meantime, I have one question. Are you going to eat all that?